Hello everyone, my name is Nicole Zuharis, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial with you on 1 and 2 variable what-if analysis. Here are a few terms that are important before we start beginning this tutorial is managerial accounting, cost-profit analysis, and cost of goods sold. The reason why I put cost of goods sold there is because right now we're looking at the amount of units that we sold in comparison at the cost that it took for us to produce them. Cost-profit analysis is where you see how much you spent making the product and how much profit you made exceeding that cost and how it can change due to the level of production or the level sold. The users of this information are managerial accountants. You also may be learning this in your managerial accounting class in higher education. So I'm just going to give you a second to look over these few terms and then we will begin. Alright, so now I'm going to go over to my swim skin projections tab. In this example, we have the Zone, which has an apparel division, and their new product called TZ Swim Skin. We are trying to see how profitable it will be in the market. Excuse me. And we're doing projected profitability and break-even analysis, and then for the year ended December 31st, 2016. Now here, on your left side of the screen, we see assumptions. We have our sales in units, and then we have our sales price per unit. We have our variable cost per unit in manufacturing and distribution, and we have our fixed costs. Fixed costs do not change depending on the level of output or the level of products sold. Variable costs do. It's important to keep that in mind, especially when you're preparing this, because these ones are the only ones that you multiply by the number of units sold. So as we go over to the projections tab, we see that we've made some calculations. First is our sales revenue, and what we did is we took 3,000 units and multiplied it by 129, and I used cell references in this equation because let's say this was going to change to 3,500. Now all my equations change because it's linked to that cell. Whatever equations seem to need cell C8. Let me put that back to 3,000. And then for manufacturing, I simply multiplied 7575 by 3,000, cell C8 by C11. And then for distribution, I did $5 times 3,000, which gave me 15,000. And then we go over here to the right side of this little section of the sheet and total our variable cost, which is $242,250. We subtract our total variable cost from our sales revenue to get our contribution margin. Now let's talk about the contribution margin for a little bit. And it is a very important factor when determining our costs compared to our profits. Remember in the beginning where I said fixed costs do not change? Well, your contribution margin should be large enough to cover those fixed costs with a profit at the end. In this case, we did. Our fixed costs did total up to be $145,000, and we ended up with a profit before taxes of $2,600. It's important to know that companies that do this type of analysis are doing it on more than one product, so the $2,600 isn't the profit before taxes for the company as a whole. Now, what if analysis kind of goes over all of this, because what if our variable costs were going to change? What if our sales in units were going to change? What if our selling price was going to change? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. It's like, what if these changes, and how will it affect my sales revenue, my total variable costs, and my profit before taxes in the end? So let's go ahead and we'll start small with a one variable data table for what if analysis. So over here in J6, I'm going to type 500. And to make filling in my data a little bit easier, I'm going to make an equation to kind of autofill the rest. So I'm going to do equals, go up to 500 in J6, plus 500. Next, I'm going to autofill it down to 5,000. Should be about here. So what I just did is I did levels of output. I want to look at what levels of output does my my contribution margin change, my profit before taxes change, and my sales revenue change. So now go ahead in K5 and link K5 to equals H8. Hit enter. And then in cell L5, we're going to do equals H13. No, let's press enter before I went over. And then in M5, we're going to do equals M19, H19. Whoops. So if somebody was going to look at just this table, they might not directly or immediately make the correlation that 389,850 is our sales revenue, 147,600 is our contribution margin, and 2,600 is not our profit before taxes. So what I'm going to show you right now is how to do custom formatting to make it a little bit more readable. So let's go ahead and go into K5. And then I'm going to click over in the numbers group on the home tab, and there's this little box in the right hand corner. I'm going to click it, choose custom, and notice that there's this little code here of numbers and symbols. You want to delete that. Backspace. You're going to start with an open quote, sales revenue, and press OK. And now your sales revenue number says sales revenue due to custom formatting. I'm going to do the same with L5 and M5, just with contribution margin and sales profit before taxes. Alright, so now our data table is ready to be made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight J5 all the way down to M15. And as we see, there are tabs up here in Excel. I'm going to want to go to the Data tab. And we have a Get and Transform Data, Queries and Connections group, Sort and Filter group, Data Tools group, Forecast group, Outline group, and Analysis group. We're going to go to the Forecast group under What If Analysis, press the down arrow, and click Data Table. So notice we just want to see how our sales revenue changes, our contribution margin change, and our profit before tax changes. We don't actually want to change them. We only want to see how they change on level of output. So we're not going to have any row input cells because we don't want it to change by row. We just want it to change by column, meaning our levels of output or our number of units sold. So let's go ahead and click into column input cell. Click cell C8 and press enter. And there we go. Our data table is populated. But now it just doesn't look the way that I'd want it to. Accountants have a very traditional format for their financials. So what they do is they normally take the first row and they put it in a currency format with no decimal places. Everything's rounded to the nearest whole number. And then below, I'm going to just format these in comma separated values. No decimal places either for those. And there we go. We have our first data table. And as we can see, the zone sales group has projected the right amount of sales for the break-even point. Let's go ahead and highlight that because that is important. Break-even point is when your profit goes from negative to a positive number and you start earning more than what you're spending. And that is a good thing. Let me give this a title. And we'll say changes in sales revenue and profit and before taxes. Perfect. So now that we have that, we have our one variable data table. And that 3,000 units is our break-even point. But what if we want to look at a little bit more than just levels of output and at these 3 points in our projected income statement? I think it'd be best for us to look at levels of output compared to different sales prices. So let's go ahead and start making our 2 variable data table and go down all the way to J23. And right now I'm going to put equals 2600. And the reason why I did that is because we want the numbers in the data table to relate to the profit at different sales prices and levels of output. So by putting 2,600 there, it's telling Excel, okay, I want everything to come out in profit before taxes instead of just sales revenue. And then right here I'm going to type 119.95 because what if we want to see if we sold our product a little bit cheaper than what we already put it at? And then over here I'm going to do again what I did earlier is make my life a little bit easier when I'm entering in my data and go over to K23. And so let's see if we just increase our price by $10. I'm going to autofill that over. Come on. To $159.95 because we believe that this is the best swimsuit in the market and we feel that it can be sold as a high-end product. And then I'm going to do the same right here that I did up above with the levels of output sold and fill it all the way down to 5,000. Oop, I did a little too extra. Delete those. And now this is ready to be our 2 variable data table. Let's highlight it. Oop. Go to the data tab. What if analysis? Data table. And we have kept our column input the same for C8. But what we are changing now is our row input, which is going to be C9, which you can see is our selling price per unit. And as you noticed last time, C8 was absolute reference, but it doesn't have to be. And as you can see, I will get the right value, the values that I'm looking for when I press enter. I'm going to apply the same formatting that I did in the other table. And here is our break-even point. At our current projections that we've made. So there we have it. We have 1 and 2 variable data tables. But what if I want them to be a little bit more visually appealing? I can make these into a graph. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make a title for this. You'll see why I'm doing this before I even head on to the next page in a second. Changes in profit due to change So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, go head over into the graph tab that I made. I'm not going to want to just press Control V and paste. I'm going to want to go down to paste values. Because the data table is directly linked to numerical values and other different internal formulas on the other sheet, so it's good to just paste the values. You can format it again if you'd like, but really the graph is going to really show your viewers what you're looking at. So let's go ahead and just click anywhere in the graph. And we're going to do insert, recommended charts, and I'm going to just browse and see which ones are the best ones that are going to show my changes in profit and loss at each sales price. These ones don't really do it for me. The line graph's kind of messy. Scatter plot, it wouldn't be the best idea. This one, it's cool looking, but it doesn't really show me what I want to see, and they're stacked, so you can't really easily determine the different values at each sales price. A different scatter plot, not what I want to look for. This is a column stacked chart. It still is very not easily readable. This is a little bit better, but if I want to see in terms of money, I can't really decipher, is it going up or down? This one is a little bit more legible because humans naturally read from left to right, so I can see, okay, so it's decreasing and then it's increasing at these prices, or breaking even at some point. So I'm going to press OK. And I still think it's way, way, way too cluttered. So I think I'm just going to show them at two different prices where I think I'm going to pick the low end, I'm going to pick the high end. So I'm just going to delete that chart. And how I'm going to make the chart without even highlighting the whole graph is what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight 500 all the way down to 5,000. I'm going to hold down the control key, and then I'm going to highlight 119.95 sales price values. Click insert. I'm still going to keep the same chart because I think it's the best representation. Right there. But I still think it's plain, and my axes are not very easily readable. So I'm just going to change the layout, because you get a new kind of tab when you create a chart, and you get to design and format it. So, and then in the chart styles group, I think I'm going to choose this one. Or wait, maybe you can just like hover over, see a couple others. That just happened to be the one that I landed on, and I liked it. That one would be pretty cool. But I think my numbers are the best readable on this chart. So as you can see, we don't really become profitable at $119.95 for the swim skin until 4,000 units. And this could be scary to some of your executives, like, ooh, I have to sell 4,000 units and compare to 3,000 in order to make a profit. So they probably aren't going to sell it at this price. And the reason why I just copy over the title, I made sure I put the title on before I copied it over, is because not only for visual representation of just the data tables, is I'm just going to copy it here. And I'm going to put our price in parentheses so we know which graph is which. Now I'm going to do the same thing. So highlight 500 to 5,000, hold down the control key, and go to 54.95. Go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and press OK. Again, I'm going to want to change the layout of this. And let's pick a different one. That one's a little dark in the white background. I can't read the numbers before that one. Alright, let's go to this one. It's kind of more of a block style of the one that I just did. I'm going to go into the title. I still have that that title on my clipboard, so I'm just press Control V. And then enter 159.95. And there you have it. We have two graphs, and a two variable data table right here. And these graphical visualizations will definitely help your viewers understand why it might be good to keep us at $129.95 for right now, because we are breaking even at a decent level of output. And then maybe later on, when we become more impactful in the swimwear industry, we could then increase our price to maybe $159.95 and break even at 2,000 units. So let's reiterate. Over here, we started with our one variable data table. We did custom formatting for these using the numbers group with the dialog box. Then we made our levels of output, and making our lives easier, we just cell reference J6 and added 500, and then auto-filled down. Once we had our data table ready to be produced, we highlighted all of J6, J5 to J15. Go to the data tab, what if analysis data table, and for the column input, we directly reference cell C8 because we were only looking at changes in units sold. Press escape. In this one, we made our lives easier by auto-filling using two formulas going across and down. For this one, we did it in regards to the price, as I cell reference K23 and added 10 all the way across. And the same as above, I referenced J24 and added 500 and auto-filled down. For this one, we highlighted all the way from J23 to O33. Went to the data tab again, what if analysis, and since we were looking at two variables, We wanted to look at sales price, so we did the rows at sales price, which was C9, and we kept our columns at C8 for different levels of units sold. We pressed OK. And we brought this data table over to the graphs portion and made two graphs that are high and low end of pricing. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope this helps you in either your class or your professional life in making your presentation skills a lot stronger and making those presentations to those executives a lot easier. Thank you.